Hi guys, welcome back to our session for today. We're going to continue talking about some commonly asked micro and macroeconomic questions. I'm going to go over these questions, kind of give you the rundown and solutions, and then we're going to look over also the answer choices that previous tutors have done and kind of amend those answers if there's anything we see wrong with them. I have not taken a look very in-depthly about these answers. I just picked some of the questions that we're going to be talking about today. So I'll be doing this right alongside with you guys. Okay. So with that being said, let's just jump right in. So the first question says, which best describes how the government enables government monopolies to exist? One, by issuing a patent to a producer or supplier. Two, by creating and operating a monopoly. Three, by granting an exclusive privilege to a private entity to be the sole provider of the good or service. Four, by taking control of the means of production. So this is a pretty definition-based question, not really a calculation question or anything like that. What we're looking at here is two key things. First is monopoly, right? What is a monopoly? And we know that a monopoly is when there's only one producer in the market. And the second important thing to note from the question stem is that we're talking about specifically government monopolies. So monopolies that are kind of run by the government, and that's opposed to some things that are mentioned in some of the other answer choices here. So we can go down the line. One says by issuing a patent to a producer or supplier. And what a patent is essentially a monopoly, but it is not a government monopoly in that a patent does not mean that the government now owns or runs the production of whatever good the patent is issued for. Rather, that the government is granting a patent. When they grant a patent, what they're essentially doing is they're granting a monopoly, a temporary monopoly to producer or supplier that invented the invention. And so is a government enforced monopoly, but not a government run monopoly. Two says by creating and operating a monopoly, and this is going to be probably the best choice for this question, and that's just because when we're talking about monopolies and we're talking about government, the straightforward answer is that governments are just going to create and operate a monopoly in the industry of their choice. We can take a look at some of the other answers. Three says by granting an exclusive privilege to a private entity to be the sole provider of the good or service. And while, again, this is going to be a government-granted monopoly, it is not a government-run monopoly. And so, again, that's not going to be the right answer here. And finally, four, by taking control of the means of production. And so that doesn't really grant a monopoly to anybody. And so that's not going to be the right answer here. So B is going to be the best answer, or two is going to be the best answer, by creating and operating a monopoly. So let's take a look at the previous tutor's answers. So the previous tutor said that two as well, by creating and operating a monopoly. And they say that a state monopoly is created when a government agency or corporation monopolizes a particular economic sector and prohibits entry of other firms in the same industry by law. It is a form of coercive monopoly created and operated by the government and is different from a government-granted monopoly. A government-granted monopoly, on the other hand, is created when the state allows a private individual to be the sole provider in the market and prevents the same from the competition. Natural monopolies are created either due to economies of scale or due to huge barriers to entry, and private monopolies are created from the issuance of patents. Right, so this is kind of a good definition, breaks down the difference between government or a state monopoly and a government-granted monopoly, and also kind of talks a little bit about situations in which you might see monopolies happening, like natural and private monopolies. So this is a great answer. I don't think there's anything wrong with this one.